Hello there, good afternoon, and welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt. As you can see, I'm joined in person, in the flesh, with my bearded brother, my right-handed man, the guy that runs this ship with me. And unlike Celtic, this ship is certainly not rudderless, Paddy.
Definitely not.
Because I was on late last night, and I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that joined me in the live stream. It was nearly 500 people so late on in the night. Such was the shock and the desire to chat about this subject. It is, of course, Brendan Rodgers has tendered his resignation. We got a generic club statement, Paddy. We got a strange, scathing statement for Dermot Desmond. And, of course, as we wake up this morning, we start to hear all the rumour and innuendo, all the fallout, and we also get to hear from Martin O'Neill on TalkSport. Instant reaction to all, Paddy.
The Martin O'Neill thing, mate, going on to TalkSport, I felt that was a shit move. That shouldn't have happened. He should be straight. That should be coming for Celtic. That should be coming out on Celtic's media saying, listen, this is your man. Martin O'Neill said in that interview that he got the call early afternoon yesterday.
Yep, that's true, yep.
He's only heading up the road today. Why is he not in Glasgow? Why is he not being unveiled to the fans today? Giving us a big welcome back, Martin. 73 years old, taking charge of your club. Listen, guy's a legend. I am happy to have somebody like him in to try and stabilise this ship, as you said, Steve-O. But, yeah, I think the way it's all kind of come about has been a bit of a shit show. The Dermot Desmond thing as well, I'm sure we'll cover, but
yeah, we'll cover it in detail. And as you're starting to flood in, get your comments up, let us know. We spoke a wee bit about it late last night, but of course, you may have new views. I don't know, have anybody get any new views within that short period of time, but you've heard a wee bit more information, and opinions have been rife one way or another. So we'll break that down. We'll talk about it. Let's be honest, there's not too much to talk about other than offer more opinions based on what we've got. But we'll do it. And of course, we always want to try and bring in your opinions as well. So get them up and we'll try and do it. We're also simultaneously going live on TikTok. Unfortunately, we can't react on there, but we can react on our YouTube stream. So just bear that in mind, please. But before we do, it is the wee bit of housekeeping at the front end, as we always do. If you're new to the channel, welcome, a warm welcome to you. If you're one of our continued subscribers here on YouTube, and of course I'm talking to you as well on TikTok, then get yourself involved. Hit the subscribe. Remember, YouTube is our main destination. So if you're watching TikTok, transfer over, hit that like, hit the subscribe. It costs you nothing. All our content is 100% free, and it'll continue to be that way. If you want to help us out, member section, donation. No obligation. If you do it, cool. If you don't, we don't need the money. That's what we're saying. We're not in it for the money. We're in it for the love of the game, Paddy. Win, lose or draw or drastic decisions, we're here to talk about it. Exactly. And we'll do that. All our links below in the YouTube description for all the other ones. So, Paddy, let's get down to business. I got your initial reaction there to it, and I think that this one, I just want to dive straight in and get your opinion on it. I said last night that it was a decision, in my opinion, that at some stage probably would have had to be made. An unfashionable decision, because whether you like it or not, whether we want to admit it, folk, and let me get this out of the way as well. Paddy, I'm going to ask you two questions.
Okay.
Do you back the board?
No.
Do you think the board are the biggest problem for the failings of the club up to this point?
Yes.
Glad. I'm good that we could get that out of the way, because I feel the exact same way, and just for the avoidance of doubt, so that when we are talking about it, we don't need to justify it. That's our stance on the board, but we need to try our best to be as objective, Paddy, as we possibly can.
Yeah.
We need to look at it from all angles. And some of the opinions, you might go, what are you saying that for? We're not backing the board. We're just trying to look at it. And the first one, Paddy, was, as I said, the results on the pitch, right?
Yeah.
Yes, the manager was sold out. Yes, the squad is weaker. The quality's not there. However, when the squad still was quite better, I'm talking back to the turn of 2025, diminishing results, Paddy. Ask the question, when was the last big game that Brendan Rodgers done? So there felt like a decline, and unfortunately, it got to this point. Is it the right decision for him to walk away? Do you think it's saving face, or do you think it's a conversation's been had where it's, if the results don't go well, particularly at Rangers on Sunday, you might be out in your ear, son?
Listen, we spoke about it after the Kairat Almaty game, and we said, along with everybody else on here, if Brendan walks, we will back him. You couldn't really say anything other than we've got his back here, because he done his job. as far as we were aware, he was asking for these signings, and if you listen to Dermot Desmond, he wasn't.
Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah, Brendan, I think up until that point had done what he could do. That was it. After the kind of latter results, the last few games and stuff, especially there against Hearts, a game that we pretty much had to win, I was under the assumption, Steve, and you had said it as well before the Sturm Graz game, 3 pivotal games for Brendan Rodgers, and he had to win 2 out of those 3.
Minimum 2, yes.
Minimum 2.
And probably the domestic ones, if you want to be honest, are the ones that matter.
Exactly, especially the one against Hearts. That for me was the biggie.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think Brendan, for me, had to go because he's been put under so much pressure.
Mm-hmm.
The board are under pressure and they're wanting somewhere for that pressure to go.
Yep.
And they're basically turning around and they're shrugging their shoulders again and they're
Aye.
sloppy shouldering it. They're pushing it off.
Aye.
He's the problem. There we go. Dermot, release that statement. Let's get the blame onto somebody else here.
They don't want to shoulder the blame, as you say. It slides straight off. They are very much at that very acute angle. They are sliding off the blame.
Teflon, nothing sticks.
But yes, as I said, and this is the unpopular bit because folk don't like us talking this way about it. But again, we're no backing the board's decision here. But if we are honest, I asked the question to you, Paddy, and again, I just want to bring it back up and give your thoughts for the benefit of everybody that's watching. The backdrop's stinking, right? The squad is rats, right? Let's be honest here. The manager had one arm tied behind his back, but for the avoidance of doubt, whether it's this board, a different board between now and the period of January, nothing can be changed. The manager, the players, it's up to us to try and get the best out of the squad, and it didn't happen. We didn't see any level of adaptation, bringing in guys for the cold, looking at the options. I'm not saying that the guys that are in the periphery are the answer, but at least exploring every possible option. It didn't feel that was happening. And unfortunately, results are going to be the thing that get you hung. It's terrible that the manager was put in that position, right? Yeah. Because it comes back to what do you expect? Exactly. But then the flip side of it is, how far could you have let it go?
Yeah.
How far could we have let it go? And do you think it's a bit of damage or reputation? Some people are saying it's the board doing the board things because it takes the heat off them. I actually think it brings them into sharper focus because it would have been easy for them to just sit back, absorb all the pain, and let the manager be the fall guy.
That's it. If you feed somebody enough rope, the inevitable will happen. They'll end up hanging herself. That old saying. But I felt like the board would have done that. And we had said before, Steve, like you just commented, we thought Brendan would be there until at least the end of the season. He said he would see his season out. That was one of the interviews. Thought we'd maybe heavily invest in January because, let's face it, we need to. Losing guys like Nicholas Kuhn, Kyogo, Matt O'Reilly, all of these guys, none of them have been replaced. Mm-hmm. There's been nobody brought in for these guys. And Brendan not changing things, I don't think helped it. But I think that was him trying to highlight the lack of investment, the lack of ambition for this board. Obviously, guys like Simpson Pusey hasn't had a look in. The comments about Tanecki as well, saying that he wouldn't play him on the right because...
I've actually got a quote here. When he brings him in, he says he can operate on both sides and he's looking forward to playing with him. He then, after the Hearts defeat, turns around and says he's a left-footed player, doesn't want to play there, despite what he said when he brought him in, and despite him playing on the right for his national team.
Mate, that got me. That was one of the things as well. And if you look back on Brendan's interviews, there's been a lot of contradictions. There's been a lot of wee things in there and he's contradicted himself. And then obviously started to get towards the end, these kind of interviews, and he's making the arsey comments about the Honda Civic and the Range Rover Sport and whatever else.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That for me was just farcical. That you don't want to see that kind of coming to an end. But listen, the flack lands with the board straight away.
Of course it does.
It sits with them, whether they like to admit this or not, and whether they're trying to convince the other half of our fan base that like he was definitely the problem. That's us getting rid of the problem. Look, we're bringing back a legend. We're bringing back an icon.
And we'll get on to that because there's a reason behind that. But you talk about that and you talk about the board. And before we sort of dive into other things, I want to get an opinion on that as well. Let us know what you think of this. I had a chat with you, Paddy, on my way over here. And I says to you that I felt that, again, the board are the big problem. Though I hate having to continually say, it's boring, isn't it? But it is, it's fact, because folk misconstrue. I can't believe it. You watch this channel, you know the score. But my point is they were really in a rock and a hard place. I actually said this was a position they didn't want to be in, right?
Yeah.
Because if the results were going well, if there was harmony and everything was good inside the camp and the team and the performances, they could just sit back and go, well, told you, look, what are you worrying about? We always win. This is what we do. So when the results weren't there, it didn't give them that shield, and it actually started to unravel. Yes, what's happening is fundamentally to do with their failures, right? They are the biggest impact of it. But then, as I say, they start to sweat because the results aren't going their way. And there is that balancing act where, yes, it's self-penned by them, but how long do you let it go? How far do you let the rot set in? What would you consider to be recoverable and not recoverable, right?
Yeah.
That's the big question here. So they've been sitting there and they're in a rock and a hard place. They sack the manager, right? As they've no, have they sacked him? I don't know. It's a resignation, but the manager leaves, right? In certain quarters of the fan base, get rid of the manager, it's your fault, I can't believe you've done this, what a mess this is. If they don't, probably as time goes on, if things were to, and again, it's all hypotheticals now, if things were to get worse, some of the fan base will be going, they can't even make the decision that needs to happen, that's how spineless they are. So it had to happen one way or another, didn't it?
Yeah, Brendan had to go, let's be honest. I put a poll thing up on here, it was after the Hearts game. And I basically said, who's to blame? Is it the board? Is it Brendan? Is it the squad?
What was the split like?
You tell me. Mate, I'll show you the comments after this. It was pretty much board and Brendan. There wasn't a lot of people saying the team, which, listen, the team have got to take some responsibility for it. Of course they have. However, for me, it falls on the board. And listen, Brendan didn't help it by not adapting, not changing, not looking at the players that he had to his disposal and going out there and making a better team with that. Now, that for me, mate, is where the change had to happen. That's where it had to come in. And going forward, we all speak at this. We should go a 3-5-2. We should do this. We should do that. Blah blah blah. Now Martin O'Neill's coming in. Martin O'Neill was famous for a 3-5-2 formation. Sean Maloney is famous for a 3-5-2 formation. Well, not famous for it, but
let's be honest. I get where you're comfy here about that level of adaptation, right? A formation isn't going to save us overnight.
No, it's not. But having two people up front is better than not. Having two strikers at the club would be nice. Let's face it, we've got Johnny Kenny in there.
I think the one thing that, again, it's scant consolation, but to try and take any level of trying to look on the slightly more optimistic side. Now, again, we'll bring them up. We're not being blinded. We can see right through it. It's so transparent, right?
Yeah.
Get in Sean Maloney, who's there, and have somebody, a figurehead that's going to curry some level of favour, right? Because let's look at the other alternative option. See if it's Gordon Strachan and Maloney. Everybody goes completely mental. Now, folk are still understandably not overly convinced with this, but they temper expectation. It's somebody who's universally liked, so it kind of takes the edge off it, right? We all know what they're doing here, but the one thing you've got to say is it was pretty clear with Brendan being in the door that he wasn't, despite the words that he says, he wasn't going to explore other avenues. He wasn't going to try and do something that different, right? You've got to say that an interim team that are sitting there, Maloney and O'Neill, they will not be picky. They'll literally be beggars can't be choosers. They'll look and explore every single member of that squad that they've got. Dare I say it, maybe even possibility calling folk back on loans until the January, if need be, and trying to do different things. So for what it's worth, you will get a variation from game to game if needs be, I would imagine, whereas the status quo would have remained.
Yeah, listen, Brendan's been famous for just sticking with the tried and tested. A lot of players in there as well. People were asking for change. You look at the midfield. Callum McGregor was the first name in the team sheet every single week. Theo. Carter Vickers, when he was fit, first name in the team sheet again. Whether they played crap the previous week or not, these players had to be changed out. They really do. Now I'm all for one. Listen, I love Callum McGregor. I think he's been a fantastic ambassador to the club, but I felt like change was needed in there. I felt like Callum needed a rest. Give him a couple of games out, let somebody else come in, and then bring Callum back in and see what you get there. Rio Hatate, again, a guy who I absolutely love, has been garbage. Take him out, give him a rest, let him see that there's a position there to fight for. Give them something in there, rather than thinking, yeah, it's all right, I'll be playing next week anyway. So they just go out and they do what they do the previous weekend. Change is good. And Martin O'Neill coming in, yes, it's going to excite a lot of people. It's going to pacify a lot of people. But for me, at the end of the day, he's a 73-year-old man.
He's been out of football for 5-6 years.
Yes, been out of football for a long time. He's been sitting on, listen, your TalkSport, your other media outlets. He's been BT Sport, whatever, doing commentary here and there, and that's all fine and well, being a kind of Celtic ambassador, basically. But bringing in a 73-year-old man as a manager, for me, has its faults.
Well, it does, and people are saying here, as Paul saying on the YouTube, it's a political appointment, right?
Yeah.
Now, I just want to segue into that. Then Martin O'Neill appeared on TalkSport, and I'm very much what you said here. I think that it's extremely poor. Now, my takeaways from it, if you've not listened to it, I know it's TalkSport, go and listen to it. It's very brief, right? My understanding is from the conversation, the way it panned out, that it was either done in the airport on the phone or before he left the house, something like that, right? But the point is, he says that he was contacted afternoon yesterday directly by Dermot Desmond and essentially put on the spot, told that Rodgers was leaving and asked, will you come in and help stabilise the ship? Now, Martin O'Neill, let's be honest here, he's quite a strange character at the best of times, isn't he? You don't know if he's joking, you don't know if he's been serious, you don't know where you're at with him, right? Yeah. So, but in that classic Martin O'Neill way, he never sounded like he was full of conviction. He was asked, is your heart rolling your head? And he says, well, maybe. Now, would I expect him to say it is neither here nor there? But he's very much sounded like a guy who was going, well, I was asked, and, I didn't want to let somebody down, and I'm doing him a solid. We'll see how it pans out. There was no real sort of sense of, I'm hungry, I know what we need to do, I'll do my best. That kind of stuff. It was just wishy-washy chat. Now, I'm not disappointed, as you said, that I know that certain things might be in place, family, whatever commitments may well be there. But if he knew early afternoon, I would expect him to have been here in Glasgow to go and meet the players at training. We know that he famously doesn't really take training sessions. He leaves that to his coaching staff. He maybe stands in the background. He's not hands-on on the training pitch, but at least be there, introduce yourself, get that buy-in, because there's a game tomorrow.
Yeah.
And more importantly, give us a proper press conference to the mainstream media or fan media or even through the terrible Celtic channels. It was a bit tin pot going to his previous employer and basically somebody that he'll go back to afterwards is doing a solid to his pal, Jim White. Did that sort of rub you up a bit?
Aye, that got me. That should have came from Celtic. That should have been one of these things that was rolled out in Celtic TV. It really should have. Jim White going, I spoke to Martin O'Neill on the phone this morning. Martin O'Neill should have just been like, listen, Jim, I understand this is a high-profile thing for you. However, I am going to be now contracted to Celtic. I have to speak to them.
Yeah.
If me and you contacted Brendan Rodgers or someone involved with the club and said, will you come on, blah, 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 blah. No, of course they wouldn't. They'd be like, nah. No. Whether you're friends with them or not, whether you've got that rapport, I think that one should have been rolled out on Celtic TV. He spoke there about obviously the kind of management styles of Martin. And we spoke to several Celtic footballers that played under Martin. One on Friday night.
Joe, it's actually funny. I want to bring that in. We were at that night with you on John Hartson, and somebody asked, funnily enough, would you have Martin O'Neill back? And it was so weird. Like the vast majority of the room were like, having a laugh, And even John Hartson himself turned around and says, well, he loves the club, and I'm sure he'd maybe, but really, come on, as you say, his age, he's out the football and stuff like that. So weird.
It's quite strange that actually happened. But people that we've spoke to previously that have played under Martin have said that to us. Training-wise, he didn't really get involved. He wasn't one of these people who was there all the time. You've seen the video with Ange on the training ground. We never stop, we keep going, blah, blah. He's on the training ground.
It's no Martin O'Neill, it's never been him.
No, Martin's never done that.
No.
So I think, like you say, the training part will come down to Sean Maloney. Martin will do what the manager does, and he'll do what other players have told us. Didier Gat said it. Martin would come in and he would sit with that side and say, right, Didier, you know what you can do. You're excellent at going up that wing. Bombing past people, getting the ball in the box.
Direct to chess pieces. He'd give the motivational speech to each individual player.
John Hartson, bring the ball down, knock it onto somebody else. Don't want you running about because, let's face it, that's not your game. You know what I mean? Give the ball to Henrik, give the ball here, do this, do that. And that's what he's good at. He's good at getting the best out of each individual player. So I think you do very well with that.
I want to talk about the setup because there's a lot of detractors now. Again, for the benefit of the doubt here, I want to make it abundantly clear. Yes, is Sean Maloney being in the building a convenient situation? Absolutely right. Absolutely. But I then asked the question, right? I'm not buying in, and I've seen a really strange reaction to some. People have been saying, oh, God, you've got what you wanted. You deserve this. You deserve this temporary team for turning on the manager. But again, I ask the question, at what point do you, no matter how much you feel attached to Rodgers and can understand, and we can all see that he was put in a shit position, do you just blindly support that? That's the only one thing I would say now. As people are saying, as Lope's saying, Martin will do the motivation, he'll be the PR, and he'll be the figurehead. We all know that Maloney will be the guy who will do the coaching. Now, I put out a tweet and I says, like, I can see right through this. It's so transparent. This appointment is what it is. It's a means to an end. But let's look at the alternative options that were there. Again, I always make this joke. It's like an asked you once stabbed or shot, right? But would you rather McManus stepped up and took over alongside John Kennedy? Or would you have preferred John Kennedy? The answer's no. Let's be honest, the answer is not. And then the alternative options of people that are going to be washed up and can come in as a temp, i.e. the book of names, it's Gordon Strachan. Are you taking that? No, you're not. So is it crap? Is it no ideal? 100%. But let's try and at least look at some of, if there is, the positives. And it comes back to it. I said last night, Maloney's in, Pathways manager, and everything that I've been hearing from various people is that he is really trying to revolutionise. What does that mean? It sounds all fluff and sort of PR stuff, but you can take that at face value. If he's coming in and trying to do the right things, he's been at elite level, at an international level, and he's got a good sort of coaching experience, managerial in his own right, different story altogether, but he does have experience in modern day practices, right? I am all for that. So that kind of old school and new school mix could work. It's kind of irrelevant to me whether it's Martin O'Neill on the training field or Sean Maloney. What we need is fresh, new ideas. Now, again, look at what Maloney had, and people says, well, look what we've done there. He wasn't very good at getting the best out of his modern thinking. Yes, but the standard of player, even though the standard squad at the moment isn't great, you are dealing with a better team. So theoretically, you might yield results, Paddy.
Exactly, mate. That's it. Listen, you're saying about people talking about Sean Maloney and stuff. I was on Axom talking about the recruitment status, the state of recruitment at Celtic, and Paul John Dykes had said to me as soon as we went in, he's like, I'm hearing some great stuff about Sean Maloney. Again, meeting with the youth players' families and letting them know the plans and setting things in place, setting the wheels in motion. And that's something that Celtic TV should have been pushing out there and promoting to folk and saying, look what Sean's doing here, look what we're actually getting involved with. And I think then people would start to kind of get an idea of where we're heading, because that's something you don't hear a lot of. Speaking about previous managers and stuff, Stephen, who would have been up for this job? Ange is out of a job. Obviously, his name is linked everywhere. Every single second comment on the TikTok channel is, oh, big Ange this, big Ange that.
Nah,
yes,
come on.
I understand that Ange is out of a job, but listen, Ange, when he came in, was brilliant. He made a couple of cracking signings. We done phenomenally well. Do I think Ange could get a tune out of this team? No, I don't. I think this team needs a change of formation. Ange and Brendan played the same formation all the time. Ange was brilliant with his plan A. His plan B was quite simply do plan A better. And I say it all the time. That was it. And that's why I get found out at Tottenham. That's why I get found out at Nottingham Forest. Do I want Ange back? You tell me. What do you think?
Well, here's the one thing I will say, and again, come back to the Martin O'Neill crappy interview. My one takeaway for that as well, Paddy, was, right, and I'm paraphrasing here, he says that I don't know what level of conversation he had with Desmond yesterday, right, but I'm sure there'll be some level of questions asked. And he turned around and he said that he expected Celtic to be now going out and doing their due diligence, we hope, right, they will go and get a manager. But the term he used was young, upcoming, with a track record. And he said it multiple times, a track record. And what is a track record? That's the question. The easy one that people are saying, and personally I spoke about it last night, I wouldn't be adverse to it, would be depending on how Portugal do in the summer, sliding scale, but Martinez is out of a job, right? Now, if they go and win it, he's going to pick any team he wants, let's be honest. If they go deep in the competition, potential again. However, would I be against Martinez coming in and have Maloney's number 2 as he has before? Absolutely not. There's worse options out there. Now, I know that a lot of folk want to talk about Knutson up in December, so on and so forth. There's other Marco Rose guys like that might wet your whistle more. Yeah. But if Martinez was the go-to, I'm not against it. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Is it super exciting? No, it isn't. But again, track record, does he have a track record of winning things? Well, no, he doesn't. But does he have vast experience and a track record at a high level? Well, yes, he does. And when you look at some of the teams that he's managed that aren't international sides, again, relatively mediocre sides. Yeah. So you take that as you find it.
Yeah. He says about, is it Knutson, the boy at Bodo Glimt?
Yep.
He'd probably be my option. He'd be the one that I'd go from December. Obviously, the Norwegian League finishes then, and he's going to be out of contract. Plunge the last in there. Who would you go for, Paddy? That would probably be my one that I would be thinking about. But like Steve says, Martinez has the thing with Sean Maloney there. Terry hit the nail on the head when he was on here talking to Steve before, and he had said it. Maloney's in here to lay the groundwork, and Martinez, once the World Cup's done, will be in the door. I thought, wow. What a statement, but listen, if it's true...
Well, I mean, you're saying what a statement. Folk aren't necessarily... I don't know what you feel of Martinez out there. As I said, I think that one thing you can't discredit him for is, Portugal, Belgium. Those are two big international sides to be taking charge of. Obviously, a period of Everton and everything else in between. There is experience there, right? Now, obviously, he's spoiled for choice with Portugal and Belgium, and folk could maybe argue, well, he had a golden era of Belgium and he didn't really do it with him. Yep, that is true. But again, credentials of, the backdrop, I don't think is a bad thing, and they try to play the right sort of style of football. Maloney being in, it's a very easy, convenient thing, but it isn't the worst. If that would be the direction that they want to steer, then you've got someone in the door who's going to lay the foundations at some point. That's what I would say about that. Lay the foundations. He knows the working methods, and literally your manager could come in off the back of that tournament and hit the ground running. Yeah. Not the worst situation if that was how it was going to pan out.
I know, that's it, mate. But listen, we'll wait and see. Martin O'Neill's in charge until we find that man, until we find the person who is going to come in and
here's one for you. Punch is saying, Ange Bog talking about who does it. Knutson and Muscat, right? Knutson, famously a guy that demolished Ange Ball, yes. And of course Muscat, who was the protege now. Muscat, can you imagine? What if it was Ange with Muscat as his number two?
Gutted, mate.
I do joke.
You say there about Knutson as well. If you think back to that Bodo Glimt game, when we tried to play out for the back and we got absolutely melted. Bodo Glimt tore us a new arse. They really did. They done to us exactly what we were trying to do to other teams. And that's what I'm referring to. And even during that game, they managed to change formation. You watch it. They did automatically change to a 3-5-2 at one point when Celtic were behind and they no longer needed to have their four at the back. They changed it. And that's what I want. A manager who's willing to come in and change. Yes, Knutson can play the playing out for the back and the 4-3-3 formation, whatever, but he changes things. He has a plan B. Ange didn't.
So, Paddy, I want to divert and dive back into these statements, right? Because a lot of chatting in here. There's a lot of people that are wanting to talk about it, and I just want to bring that in. A lot of people are rightly turning around saying it, and I think this is absolutely spot on with Gav Boy on YouTube. He says, brilliant how a dictator says nobody's bigger than the club. I found that there was many things in there that I had to laugh at. Now, the first thing I want to ask you, Paddy, is where are you at with Dermot Desmond being the voice? Not Peter Law, not the CEO, Michael Nicholson, the owner. I know they said that today again, the owner. He isn't the owner. Let's make that clear. He's not the owner, but he acts like it, and that's part of the problem. Why is Dermot Desmond the one who's putting out the message there? Why is he the one that's doing that? Is that maybe, do you think, deliberate on his part because everybody thinks that the two of them are thick as thieves and all like that, and that the problem with Rodgers is Law and everybody else, not Desmond? Do you think he's done that because there is a rift there between them and he wants to make that clear? Because I think a lot of people are turning and had this opinion that if Desmond's his guy, he'll get what he wants.
I think it's came out to cover the arse of Nicholson, Mackay and Lawwell. I think Desmond's put it out there because people are going to look at, if Michael Nicholson releases a statement, we're going to be like, oh, what's he saying? So, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on these guys right now. There's a massive amount of pressure. Now, Desmond, yes, there's pressure on him as well, but not as much as what's on the custodians of the club, shall we call them, Steve-O. And he said there about Dermot Desmond, the owner, a 33% shareholder. That's what Dermot Desmond is at the end of the day.
Largest single shareholder.
The largest single shareholder at Celtic, yes. That doesn't make you the owner of the club. That doesn't make you be able to go out there and actually take control of all of this stuff. For me, it's again, it's farcical. It's one of these things that's laughable.
So I want to bring this up, Paddy, because I've not really had a chance to properly speak to yourself around about the statement. Now, this is me just bringing up part of his statement. I want to pick your brains on it and go through it, right? Now, on this statement, what I turned around and said was, you'll see it on our social media, at CWPod 1888 on X, right? I am very much, again, for the avoidance of doubt, I'm not defending Dermot Desmond or the board here, right? But as we always try to do here, whether fashionable or unfashionable, we try to look at these things objectively, right? Yeah. There's a great saying in life, and I stick by it, that in many situations, particularly things like this, where there's disagreements or whatever, there's one side of the story, there's the other person's side of the story, and see right in the middle, somewhere in the middle, there's a thing that we call the truth, right? Now, of course, as I also said in that tweet, what's that post now? X on it, right? Anyway,
an X.
And an X, right? So anyway, in that, I also went on to say that I do not believe a word that comes out of this board's mouth, right? I do not believe it. However, at the same time, I struggle to believe a lot of what Brendan Rodgers has been saying recently as well. Contradictions, undermining the players, backtracking, claiming one thing about a player's ability, then flipping and saying he can't do it. A man, it was very much, as I say, dogs and caravans once we arrived at Honda Civics, right? That's where I was at. But there's two things in here for me. Firstly, the turning around here and saying that there was no contact between the board and him offering a contract, right? And Rodgers appeared to be pleading and saying, I'll answer that question. Yeah. Where are you at firstly in that point, Paddy? Because I find that, and again, funnier things have happened, but I'll use the term, I refuse to believe that going into his last year of the season, knowing the instability and uncertainty, we spoke about it, we needed that clarification, that it hadn't been at least approached at some point, right?
Yeah.
I think that seems bizarre that there wouldn't be a conversation, right? Mm. And even after, if he went, there's been no, if he was out and saying there's been no conversations about my contract, that at that point the board have maybe went, by the way, let's talk about it then.
Yeah.
So point one of that, do you think that in itself is a half-truth, a whole truth, or absolute fabricated nonsense? I think it's
going to be a kind of half-truth in there. I think Celtic, as a business, like we've said, is run impeccably well. It really is.
But is it though? And we'll deep dive that.
I think it is. You just need to look at the financial books for that. To make money, Celtic has run very, very well.
Not very, but I'd say, so I'm going to jump in and I'm putting my foot down on it, for right or wrong, sorry to disagree.
Putting this in room 101, Steve.
Putting in room 101. Celtic are ran well. Not very well, not great, not excellent. They do enough. They're self-sustainable, but they should be better. That's what I'm at.
I'll give you that. Celtic are ran well as a business, right? Now, I think if you're running a business well, when it's coming to managerial talks, when you're looking at steadying the ship for another year or adding on extra years to contracts, I think that conversation has to have taken place at some point.
Yep.
It has to have. Now, if it hasn't, then that is sheer neglect on the board's half. It really, really is. I think there's been something there. Whether Brendan's been happy with it or not, I think there's been something. And I think, obviously, he hasn't been happy with it, so he's come out and said, yeah, there's been nothing. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? He's kind of put his foot down as well. He's done a Steve-O. He's put his foot down on it. And
I'm just trying to be forceful.
No.
And here's another point as well that I want to flick through here, right? So in terms of, that's the first bit, saying that there's no problem. Yeah. This bit here, again, I refuse to believe, but he's turning around saying that at the start of summer, regular dialogue was had about the strategies, priorities and approach, right? Every player was agreed by the manager with his full approval and endorsement, right? And an insinuation otherwise is false, right? So basically what he's turning around saying is that there's been no disagreement. The manager hasn't voiced an opinion of lack of quality, lack of investment. Nonsense. I refuse to believe that. And again, it mentions in recent weeks, they're unhappy about his conduct in recent weeks, right? Again, these conversations, Paddy, were being had in January transfer window 2025 and at the start of the pre-season. Yeah. I refuse to believe that the manager coming out and saying in varying degrees of force that we need more, I wish it was quicker, we need this, that, and the next thing, that they have not picked up on that and a conversation's been had. That as well, nonsense for me.
I totally agree, and this is one of the things as well that was brought up with the collective when they went to meet and at Celtic Park was the conversations about a club signing, as Brendan would have called it. Now, there's been loads of players brought in there. Simpson Pusey is the one that he's coming up now. This guy's been brought off in Man City B team where he won Player of the Year. There's no option to buy him. This young lad is supposed to be incredible.
Now, I know that it was garbage in the B team, but again, the B team is garbage.
The B team is garbage, yeah, that's it.
So, yeah.
Aye. But you look at that, do you know what I mean? Why is this young laddie not having a sniff in there? You look at other guys who have been brought in to strengthen positions and they're not getting a sniff. Shin Yamada, why was he not included in the European squad? What was the deal there? We're now in a European squad where Johnny Kenny is your main striker. That gives me the fear. It really does going forward. And there's got to have been something in there where the manager agrees on all signings. There must be something. And the board has said that's what happens. These are all, every time there's a player comes in, the manager, the board, and everybody sit down and they agree on that signer coming in.
So Paddy, I want to touch on this because there's a lot of comments coming in. There's a lot of people mentioning it on there, and particularly on the YouTube. Warren saying in that the quotes at no point and is absolutely false. That leaves zero room for interpretation. Now, again, coming back to this statement, coming back to the points that are in here, right? It then mentions as well, I don't agree with it, that they fully supported them, and I like the bit about every penny getting back into the club. That was a good wee party line to wheel out. Absolute spin doctor stuff, right? Mental football doctor, no, spin doctor, politician stuff, right? Absolutely bizarre behaviour. They still are adamant that what they are doing is right. Now, you've kind of went, well, within reason, it's right. Aye, the DNA, the footprint is there. But improve it, make it better. They also mentioned that they spent record amounts. And again, for the benefit of balance here, 9 million on Ida, 11 million on Engels, 6 million on Trusty, 3 on Bernardo, 5 on Tunetke. All right, there's glaring errors elsewhere in the pitch that really should be getting filled in. But that's still a lot of money. Now, part of that problem is the way that they've dealt with it. It shouldn't have been that amount if they were swifter. But for balance, he has spent an all right of money. He could have spent a lot more, and he should have spent a lot more. But how many of those players have really made a difference? So you can understand why they've thrown that in there. It doesn't make it right, but you can see why that's been thrown in.
But then if that's the case, then Steve, well, they've agreed on these players coming in as well, not just Brendan.
So it's double fault.
Of course it is. But if you listen to them, they'll tell you that it was Brendan who was at fault for Adam Ida, Arne Engels, Austin Trusty.
Of course they will.
Do you know what I mean?
Not the people that are negotiating these deals, by the way.
They're Brendan signings.
Aye.
They're people. They might
Brendan
be people.
didn't sit down in negotiations and flush out a deal. There you go.
Of course he didn't. So Brendan might have identified these players. But he's not sat down there and said, I want Adam Ida and I'd pay 9 million for him. He's not sat there and said, I want Arne Engels. He's definitely worth 11 million.
Yes.
Which, let's face it, he's not at this moment in time, but he may well be.
So, Paddy, on the statement, this is the one thing that's swirling around, and this is where I am at with it. I also mentioned in that tweet that I spoke about, looked at it from both sides. I think that there's culpability on both sides. The overarching, the huge portion, the scales are like that, and blaming the board, right? Let's not kid ourselves on here. But there was rumours of, or I say rumours, there was opinions that it was self-sabotage by the manager and he was trying to tear the place down, right? I refuse to believe that somebody would do that. But if he had checked out, that would be just absolutely shameful stuff. That would be up there as bad as anything that the board are doing if you genuinely done that. I refuse to believe it is, but I just wanted to bring it in because there's people suggesting that.
This is a manager that in his tenure at Celtic has won, 11 out of 12 trophies?
Yes, can't argue with that.
So is he going to do something to sabotage his time?
Well, it makes it hard for him to get a job done.
Of course it does. Listen, he left the last time, right? He walked out the last time and I was one of these people, Judas. I called him. I was sitting there going, the rat, he's gone. What's he doing? Why would you leave a club like Celtic to go down to Leicester and win nothing? Listen, done well. He got the FA Cup. Yep, of course he did. Excellent. He came back and listen, I was happy because at that time, he was the best option for us. I was upset when he left the last time because we were losing. At that time, and I'll say it, he was an elite manager. At that time, Brendan Rodgers was in a class of his own. You can just look back and see everything that we had won up until that point when he left for Leicester. Now then he come back in and there was slight changes. Not the man who left, but he stood there with smug face and he said, I'll see you all back here in May. And he stood there in May with his smug face with the trophies. Yep, look at me, there we go, I promised, I delivered. And I don't think somebody of that arrogance, of that that personality would walk out knowing fine well that he hasn't done everything in his power. I think I'm walking away right now is to highlight the problems at Celtic. He's highlighting the board.
I think so. Away. And see on this is come back to statement, because this is very, very important, right? One thing about Dermot Desmond that we can't deny, right? He's ruthless, right? Now, a lot of people are saying this, and I, again, alluded to that very much in that tweet, right? This here on YouTube, Scott's saying Desmond would have had that statement legally checked. So parts of it must be true. Now, this is very, very important for me, right? It's pretty clear that, as it says on the tagline, a messy divorce. There's no love lost here, right? I don't think there's been any shush, shush, be quiet stuff that's been signed. Not whatever. Now, see if this statement, as I said, is as written, is completely fabricated and false and is a hit job on him. Now, we had the hit job in the Sun, right? And nothing was done about that with the club. He's no longer at the club. See if this is a completely 100% cast iron lie, top to bottom. I fully expect Brendan Rodgers to go after them from a legal standpoint.
100%. Defamation of character.
And also on that then begs the question, would someone like Dermot Desmond and Celtic, given the situation, run that risk? As McLaughlin's saying there, no way his lawyers will allow that statement to go out without a body of proof.
Yeah, I know. I totally understand that, mate. Like I say, defamation of character is massive. If your employer says something directly about you and puts it out in the public eye, and that's falsified in any way, you've got them over a barrel. And if that's the case, and Brendan has, then I fully expect a message from one of Brendan's lawyers, because let's face it, he'll have guys like this to his arsenal. We'll see something coming back. There has to be a bit of kickback here from Brendan, because that
I think he needs to. And as we said, he's not going to be on the Christmas card list. No. And who cares? Is he really going to be that bored with getting a wee invite back to Celtic Park every now and then? I don't think so. It's pretty clear there's a clean break here, right? Yeah. It's not a on terms falling out here. So Brendan Rodgers, in my opinion, he might not want to do it. He might not want to hassle. He might not want to smoke. But if he feels that it's been an inaccurate depiction of what's been on, it's in his best interests for his own character, but also for the wider, greater good, to expose this board and ramp up the pressure on him. It would really put some serious weight behind the fan movement if he comes out and does an expose and tells it as it is.
Be nice, wouldn't it?
Of course it would.
How many managers have we had? How many people have we had that have actually left that club? And again, it's one of the things we spoke about previously. The board's selling players from under a manager's nose, basically, from the manager knowing nothing. Who was it? Paul Dykes was talking about it as well, and it was Joe Ledley turning up for training.
Yep.
And Neil Lennon's the manager. And Neil's shouting him in. He says, "Oh, Joe, come in." He says, "What's up? What have I done, Gaffer?" He says, "You've not done anything, son. There's no point training. We've sold you." He says, "What do you mean you've sold me?" He says, "Well, it's not really anything to do with me." He says, Joe Ledley was telling that story to Paul John Dykes at one of the evenings that they'd done.
Yep.
He says he actually glazed over. It's one of the points. He was gutted that this had happened. He wasn't in negotiation with any other clubs. He wasn't speaking to any other clubs. He wanted to spend time at Celtic. And the board basically, we'll make a quick buck here. Let's get him out. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. It's the opinion on the statement. Again, we're not in any way, shape, or form on Dermot Desmond's side, but I have to look at it from an objective standpoint, and I think that it would be absolutely insane to put out a statement, essentially like a scorned ex-partner throwing out something like that. Completely conjecture.
Releasing a sex tape.
It's a verbal sex tape. It's a scandal. It's a scandal. No, jokes aside, bring it back. I think that it's people need to really think about that. The opinion will always be it's a smokescreen. It's trying to deflect. Yes, within reason, but ask yourself deep down how ruthless these people are. That's part of the problem, because they are ruthless and they are so self-motivated about protecting theirs. And by legal means, if need be, you've got to ask yourself, would that be said if there wasn't at least a good percentage of truth in it?
Mate, there has to be truth in it, because if there isn't, they're opening up a full can of worms here that
It's smoke they don't want.
Exactly.
More smoke.
Exactly. More smoke that they don't want. The board are under so much pressure. Let's face it, and that pressure, I believe, is going to now intensify, because Brendan Rodgers has walked away.
Do you think Brendan Rodgers will reply?
He has to. Much sticks. If Brendan Rodgers wants to get another job, let's say he doesn't have to. The guy's very, very wealthy, right? He doesn't really have to walk into another job. But if you're in that sort of, if you're in that kind of job, right? You're in that kind of area. You want to keep progressing. You want to keep going. You want to be in football. And if he wants to remain in football, who's going to touch him? If at least half of these statements are true, because he's basically shown there that he's a spoiled brat. He's thrown his toys out the pram at every single moment, and it's something that you have to seriously look at. Brendan has to reply to it. Much sticks. It's as simple as that, Steve. Defamation of character here isn't right.
I think that smell of storm the winds against us.
Storm the winds, mate. Honestly, we get it. Yeah, that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Just let us know your thoughts as well. Let us know what you think.
I mean, that's where I'm at with it. To move on for the statement gate, right? I think that there's the biggest issue again. I say it, the board. We know it, right? I think results-wise, it wasn't going to go, and I had a rodent faith that we would be able to turn it around between now and January, right? That's where I'm at with it. I think that Brendan Rodgers leaving on his own, maybe it is a case of he saw the writing on the wall and he was saving face in his own right. Maybe it was a case of everything that he has been putting out there is true and he's just had enough.
Yeah.
One way or another, it's pretty clear that the relationship has been. Dermot Desmond uses, but funnily enough, the word toxic. How do you want to laugh at that? But there's no doubt, I think that maybe there's been a level of self-awareness there for the manager that it has turned toxic. Yeah. And I want to touch on it and move on, because I think that despite what he would tell you and players will tell you, this will have ate into the dressing room. This will have ate into the training ground. It's eating into fans. See us, and that's good. It's good to have healthy debate. And what I would say is again, and I play when there's, common sense sometimes doesn't come around. We don't like it. We've all got different opinions, but try and respect. It's, for me, the blame is with the board, but the results are on the manager. Yeah. Yes, he's a shit situation, but again, you can't just take that at face value. No. Would you have been happy for Rodgers to just stay in and potentially fall 12 points, 13 points, whatever behind?
I know.
Equally, he might have clawed it back, but the trajectory and the signs suggested that wasn't going to be the case. Yeah. So it's a shit situation that's been resolved extremely messily. Yeah. But somebody else has moved on. John Kennedy.
Yes.
Some people are saying, if John Kennedy's left, it tells you everything you need to know, which then swings in the favour to say everything that Rodgers is saying is 100% accurate. Mm-hmm. Where are you at with John Kennedy leaving? But does it tell us anything, mate?
I'm going to speak to John later, actually. I sent a message earlier and he replied, so hopefully I can get a wee bit from John. I agree to an extent. John Kennedy's been there, 20 years? Maybe more.
We've been there as a player for
yeah, so you're talking about maybe 20 years.
25 plus, mate. It's the academy, so how long is it?
Long in the tooth. Like you say, Steve, he's been there a long time. And that's something that I think him walking away shows something's happened here, something's went on. People asking on the TikTok as well, do you think Brendan had lost the dressing room? I don't know.
Let's throw out there, again, I hate this social media crap for modern players. Balakwisha put out a very strange, a wee finger up type thing and a praying hands, right? And him, obviously, he was doing that sort of like thing. He's doing celebration, so read it any you want. He claims he deleted it and he didn't know anything about the manager, but is that again just try to find something there?
I know. Is it him looking at it going, maybe I'll get a chance here, maybe, do you know what I mean? He's going to burst into this squad and we're going to see a rejuvenated Balakwisha. We're going to see this guy that we chased for 3 years. We're going to see why we done that, that he's worthy of this. I don't know, Steve. Is it tongue-in-cheek? Is it being... I don't know. The Instagram stuff, as you know, I absolutely hate.
Yeah.
Birthday card pish. That's what I say. Louis Palmer was famous for the resilience and all this crap. Louis Palmer, a guy who, like you said, Steve-o, we might see back.
Might not certainly like mid for January. I think there might be a bit of difficulty in calling guys back for loan periods, but again, it's all down to if you're going to tear up a contract, I assume there's a cash value money attached to doing that. But
you look at guys like Odin Thiago Holm, who's been out there saying that he would love to make a...
He's no chance, but he's got that weird, I don't know what it is, he's got some sort of issue, it gives him a bit of paralysis in his legs, so I don't think, all the best of luck to the guy, I don't think that's going to happen, that one, but yeah, I mean, to talk on it again, just to circle back to Kennedy, you believe then that there's something in it that he's went, or do you think, and again, I've heard this, is all rumour, right? The AGM hasn't been called yet, right?
Yeah.
It's long overdue, right? It's long overdue to at least announce the date for us at this point. There has been suggestions that there's going to be a change of chairman, right? There's also been rumours circulating that Nicholson's going to move, right? Now, again, I would love to see that. That would be a start. I'm just asking it. I don't believe it, but I'm saying it for the benefit of conversation. Celtic need root and branch change.
Yes.
In the dugout and upstairs, right? I think personally Kennedy going is a great thing, right?
Yes.
I would have loved to see Stratton go as well, and also Woodsy. We need to clear out. We need fresh new guys in. We need a new manager to come in, have autonomy, have his own guys, and make it happen to move forward. You can't keep forcing guys like Kennedy on to any manager that comes in the door. You simply cannot do it, right? So I'm all for him leaving. But is he maybe leaving because there is going to be wholesale changes that he was told? Martin O'Neill's coming in and Maloney's going to be his number 2 because we're moving forward.
It's mad, isn't it?
Is that a possibility?
Of course it is. If something like that happens, it's like one of the things that this is going to be the new guys in charge here. And he's sat there, well, I'm not really working under that. I don't really see where I fit into that role. So then it's something you just kind of step away. You remove yourself from the situation. John Kennedy has done himself no harm. He's been at Celtic. He's worked under several very, very, very good managers. So surely he'll have taken stuff from that. But he'll have used Celtic to get whatever tickets he needs in order to step into.
We talk about ambition, Paddy, right? We want ambition from our club. We want ambition from what we do. We want to be world class in everything that we do, right? John Kennedy and co, they need ambition.
Yeah. Does
he not have any, like, I know he's on a cushy job, right? And he must wake up every day in his plush gaff and plush motor and laugh in the mirror. And this is brilliant. I'm still here, new manager, and I'm still here, right? But jokes aside, where's his level of ambition? Where is his level of ambition? Why do you always want to be the bridesmaid and never the bride, right? Yeah. So a queen break might not be the worst thing for him.
See when Ange left, John Kennedy's house came up for sale. Don't know if you remember that, Steve-o, and as you do, you always kind of, I'm one of these guys who'll flick through Rightmove and I'll look at houses that I can't afford.
Carry by,
yeah. So this house popped up and I had a wee look at it, and it was one of my friends sent it later on. So this is John Kennedy's house. He's obviously leaving the Ange and blah, blah. I was like, wow, what a pad. So like you're saying, when he wakes up in that big plush pad, Steve-o, backing onto the golf course, and a lovely wee part of
well, change is afoot. Change is afoot, and as we said, it remains to be seen if we get that all-sweeping change. It needs to be wholesale. It needs to be top to bottom. I would be very interested, because this is the point. Martin O'Neill, again, to circle back on that, he was asked, is it interim? Yes, interim means interim. It means short term. How quickly do Celtic need to make this appointment? Because, again, the board are shambolic at making big decisions, but in terms of decisions that this current board as it is at this moment in time, of course, this doesn't save their skin. There could well be, and there should well be, changes as the pressure ramps up on them.
Yeah.
But this board that are in situ right now, this is arguably the biggest appointment that they are going to make in their tenure.
Aye.
Biggest appointment. People have said that would have been, by default, the failed Eddie Howe one, right? We landed their feet, they were lucky.
Yeah.
But this is now the biggest appointment, because there's everything to play for, but also the potential for everything to go rapidly wrong, Paddy.
Of course, as if this goes wrong, the board are up shit creek without a paddle. Let's be honest. It's one of the things where this is a job-defining moment for them. The pressure's ramped onto them. It has been for the last year. You would say, obviously, up so the last 6 months, but Brendan walking away from this puts more pressure on them. So it's up to them to make this decision, to bring in somebody to, like you said, steady the ship, to hold the reins until we get in the manager that we want. Now, I don't want to see this pussyfooting about again, Steve, like we did. Eddie Hauser, man.
We need decisive action.
He's away to Newcastle. The same with transfers. We're getting Casper Dolberg. Brilliant. He's a great striker. We're going to bring him in. Yep, excellent. He's away to Ajax. See, that stuff, I hate that.
Yep.
You want somebody, go get them. We are a big club, whether people out there like to admit it or not. We are massive. If we want someone, we have a lot to offer. We can offer European football every single year, guaranteed. Whether that be Champions League, Europa League, or albeit Conference League.
Here's a big question. Here's a big question I want to go to you. In terms of the manager, or a manager of any sort of real quality and value, there is question marks over how they can take it. And again, this reflects on how they need to get this decision right and quickly, but not rushed. That in itself is a balance act. Because I come back to it, at this moment in time, 8 points behind. There's a lot of football between now and December and that transfer window. We need to get this right. But if you are a manager coming in and they leave it, let's just say, touch wood, that it doesn't go this way. But let's just say the Maloney and a real experiment doesn't go as planned and Celtic were to fall a wee bit further behind. Yep. And you're a manager and I approach you and say, big club, big opportunity, but we're 11 points behind, right? You go have to wait to January, you've got a threadbare squad. It takes a real amount of character to really do that. But then equally, if you get to January and you are multiple points behind, how do you sell that to a player to come in? You come and say, Celtic, you're coming because you will win trophies. They want to win trophies for the off. Maybe you're not even anywhere near it in European football, and you're saying, well, you'll get European football, but I mean, if we finish second, it could be conference or something. I mean, how do you sell that to a player?
Exactly, mate. It's one of the things. It's you want to come in, and the fans, listen, the fans are going to be on the case if that comes to the stage as well. So there is going to be a lot of fan unrest if it came to that stage. That's something, obviously, that there'll be players and managers will be looking at from the outset. We laughed at across the city when Russell Martin was drove out of their club and people are coming for interviews and then they're going, that's all right, you can keep the job, see you later, and going away. I think we would be in a similar situation had it come to that. But I think there must be something in place here. And that's me kind of hoping that the board are actually doing their job again. Absolutely. There must be something sitting in there, something sticking. Could be the Bodo Club manager. It could be the Martinez thing. It could be so many.
You championed them, but would you wait until December? Do you think this makeshift side can get us through?
Yes. I think a bit of change in at that side, Steve, a bit of fresh eyes, a bit of ambition, a change in the squad, change of players. Let's face it, Martin O'Neill's going to come in there. Sean Maloney might bring a couple of guys up for the youth squad. He might bring some of these guys in and go, listen,
again, to throw that out there, let's talk about the youth squad, because I know it's just a passing, but no disrespect to them. Dane Murray, Kobe Donovan, we've championed them at the times that they've been good, but right now, you can't be playing games with these guys. They can't, and it's unfortunate that they find themselves in a drastic situation where opportunity is not going to come because you just can't simply risk it. We saw that. I think Celtic at this moment in time, Martin O'Neill, Maloney, they need to be looking at the actual viable options that are there. If that means bringing in an Inamura for the cold, if that means bringing in Shin, if that means having Osmond even just sitting on the bench as an alternative option, they need to do it. They need to explore it. If it bringing back Simpson Pusey, is it going 3-5-2? Is it Tierney, Scales and Pusey at the back and then work everything out for there? Who knows? Start some more, mate.
Martin on TalkSport did say that he was going to phone Henrik and see if he's been staying in the gym.
Probably get a better tune out than Kenny.
Of course you would. Let's be honest, I'd rather have Henrik Larsson up front at fucking 55-year-old than have Johnny Kenny up front at the age that he is. It's all kind of jokes and stuff. I seen a cracker the other day as well, and somebody had said, I turned my clocks back on Sunday. I didn't think I was going back 20 years with Martin O'Neill being in charge of Celtic.
I know that is one of those. Listen, we're over 200, nearly 230 on the channels on
75
YouTube,
on our TikTok
75 on the TikTok.
Thank you very much, guys.
Get yourself involved. If if you're on TikTok, get yourself over youtube.com/at Celtic World Order Pod. Subscribe, cost you nothing, because this that we're doing here, this won't happen all the time, but you'll get us on there. Hit the notification, and every time we go live, get it. If you are on our YouTube and you're watching right now, thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like, Subscribe if you haven't done it. We're that close. We're touching that 3,000. Help us get there. Paddy, there's a lot of football to talk about, and we haven't even scratched the surface of the game tomorrow. But before we do, we're not going to really talk about the game tomorrow. We're not getting a chance to do it. But what do you think? Did we get that new manager bounce, Paddy?
We live in hope. I think we will. I think this is one of the ones that, I said before, John McGlynn always sets out really, really well against Celtic, and it's Falkirk are a side who are going to come at you. You know that. They're going to, they play the way they play, and that's it. They don't change formations for different sides like you see in other SPFL teams. Now, I think that Celtic have enough in the tank. I think the new manager bounce, I think possibly a change of formation. Let me see. I think that would be nice. I think seeing a change of formation, seeing a Celtic...
old manager bounce.
The old manager bounce, aye. Plunge, brilliant.
Maybe we'll need to get him one of these space offers because he likes a bounce as well, doesn't he? He's getting on his age. I don't know if he's going to be jumping high.
Do you think he'll be doing that wee jump at the side of the park? I doubt he'll be doing that at 73.
Well, I like smell of golf. 3-0 tomorrow, 6-2 Sunday. Roll it back. Roll the years back.
Yes, mate.
I will say, we take no games for granted, but in terms of a new manager bounce, a home match against Falkirk, that's a good start. And we're already seeing the baddies. Their fans are rolling out. You know that wee sort of Grim Reaper rolling out. Hey, that didn't even mean that. But that wee infamous one that we normally bring out, the Grim Reaper, it's Brendan Rodgers face champ door. They've already got one with Rowan and Brendan Rodgers. But as I said before, that's fandom, that's what they'll do, and they're perfectly entitled to have a laugh at it. But it's a bit like, as it says, it's a bit like having, tell your pal his Honda Civic's an absolute banger when you've got a Lamborghini parked on the driveway, do you know what I mean? So, they can laugh and they're entitled to do that, and that's exactly what will happen. But looking at it, Paddy, yeah, we knew the manager was going to leave. We didn't necessarily imagine it would happen like this and so soon, but he was always going to leave at the end of the season regardless. So all that garbage doesn't wash. A big test at the weekend against them. But yeah, I think that for me, tomorrow night, back credit in the bank. And this is the one thing I would say. We're all angry. The protests will continue. They'll get ramped up. But tomorrow, we need to pack that stadium. We need to be in loud voice supporting that team. This side, now more than ever, need as much support. And by the way, by me saying that, that's not me diverting attention for the biggest issue, which is the board. That pressure will continue to ramp up. And some people are saying, Steve-O, what you've just said there's exactly what the board want. Maybe it is, but believe me, it's no going to happen. You were in the meetings for the collective. We get all the stuff. That's not going away. Don't worry about it. Nobody is going to let this board off the hook. But it is a balancing act for us as well. We need to find the perfect balance between forcefully getting on about the board's mince, but supporting the team at their weakest point. Yeah, exactly. And that's it. The be-all and end-all for us is that it comes down to supporting Celtic. We will do everything that we can to support the team on the park. They need it. They're going to need us behind them. But the main message is, exactly as Glasgow Harley Rider says in the YouTube channel there, sack the board. Get them out. We need change there as well. Change at the top as well as at the bottom. The new interim manager's in. We'll see that wee bounce. We'll see that wee kickback. I think Celtic will take care of Falkirk. I think I'll go for a 3-1. I'll stick that out there. I think we're on characteristic score. I'll say 2-0. I'll say 2-0. Where I'm at for the weekend? Oh, God, I don't know. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be brilliant. The cave will be open, Steve. You'll be more than welcome to attend. Coming into the weekend against the baddies, I think that a performance tomorrow night will determine how I feel going into that. A full house. If there's, as I said, the protest can't go away. It needs to still be there at this moment in time. Be smart in how they are approached. As we said, pre-match, half-time, full-time, let's have it. During that game, let it be known we're behind the team. Absolutely. So listen, that's us done. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it. Use on TikTok, transfer over, get the subscribe on to YouTube, get us up to that 3,000, and of course, all our lovely regular viewers on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us. We will get out your hair. We won't get out Paddy's hair, but we'll get out your hair anyway. Until the next time, take care of yourself, Paddy, and as always, mate, hail, hail, guys. See you all later. Bye-bye.